Hello, scruftards, freaks, geeks, and random internet, you know, people you don't want to meet in real life. All you people, you're all very much welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And we're gonna take a look at various locations around the front line. Uh, we're gonna take a look at where Russia has once again crossed the Oskil, and it appears as if maybe they have some success here north of Kupiansk. Uh, I thought they would never cross the Oskil. I've said this for over a year now that they will push out to the Oskil, but not cross it because they haven't made any attempts to get across north of Kupiansk for what is it, 2 years now. So I think they were comfortable holding that river as a defensive barrier. But now they've crossed it, going after some vital bridges north of Kupiansk. So we're going to take a look at that. Also at Kharkiv, Ukraine is pushing in on a town on top of a big hill and forcing Russia back. And they are also in a position where they are close to cutting off Russian forces in the valley. So we're going to take a look at that. And in Kursk, Russia is struggling. They are throwing everything and the kitchen sink including stolen Ukrainian washing machines, I would suspect, at the Ukrainians, trying to push them out of Kursk. But it's slow going and it's very costly for Russia. And then we're going to finish off with how Russia is closing in on Pokrovsk. Nothing strange about it. Uh, I've said it for how many months? This is happening. Pokrovsk will be a battlefield. Russia has the eye on the ball, and they will keep pushing until they are ready to assault the city. So let's take a look at all the maps. And I'm sorry for my sore throat, but it is what it is. Anyway, moving on. Right, so I figured we would start off with what I consider to be the big news, and that is, if we are to believe the ISW map, that is, but they are pretty reliable. So, uh, but it hasn't yet been updated on other maps. But other mappers usually update big stuff 24, 48 hours after ISW. So we'll see if they catch up eventually. But it concerns the Russian crossing of the Oskil River north of Kupiansk. And if we zoom in here, this is where they initially made a crossing, right here, into these marshes. And they appear to be stuck at the moment. I haven't been able to push out. Not that strange. They got high ground to the north, high ground to the west, high ground to the south, and they have this large town of the Dvorichna in the valley here, and they are in wetlands, and as you can see, there's also a canal here. So it's kind of difficult for Russia to get out of this pocket if they couldn't exploit that initial surprise. But they have pulled something out of their sleeve, and that is they made a second crossing right here across the River Oskil and made it up these hills into this valley. That happened the other day, but I also noticed this morning. Take a look. Russia is here, according to ISW, in control of the territory surrounding these vital bridges. So it would appear as if this river crossing operation is successful. They have reached the primary objective of securing the bridges. Pushed across, moved south, maybe even came up north from this crossing here, and secured the bridges. If they're intact, I don't know. But this is, of course, very important because now Russia has more options than pontoon bridges and amphibious vehicles to potentially make it across and launch an assault against Dvorichna. So the next issue for Russia is how do they deal with Dvorichna? Can they apply enough pressure on Dvorichna to take it? And as you can see, you have the high ground here to the south of Dvorichna. Then there you have high ground directly north of it, and then the high ground north of that initial crossing, right? So we'll see if Russia can make something out of this. This is important. It's really important because it allows Russia to draw Ukrainian forces away from Kupiansk. This push here has been forced back. Ukrainian officials have said Russia has been forced back. Russian mill bloggers have confirmed that Russia has been pushed back. So this push here really needs to be moved back by ISW. I guess they're waiting for visual confirmation of the fact. But these gains here will probably pull resources away from Kupiansk, making it possible for Russia to push in once more. We'll take a look at Andrew Perpetua. He has the crossing here as well. He has not confirmed that Russia is in control of the bridges. On the other hand, he has confirmed that Russia has been pushed out of the Kupiansk urban area. And the same thing goes for Mayakovsk 73. Here we can go take a look at Dvorichna. Russia is not in control of the bridges, but they have crossed the river down here, south of Dvorichna, pushed up that valley. And here we have Ukraine having pushed Russia out of the larger Kupiansk urban area. So these pushes here at Dvorichna may force Ukraine to allocate resources up here to deal with this issue, and that could allow Russia to push in from the north or potentially pushing up from the south towards Kupiansk. Going to the Kharkiv front, we zoom in here. Ukraine still appears to have some control of territory here, having pushed into Suravlevka, disrupting the Russian supplies. And that appears to have some effect of the front line. We've seen Ukraine pushing into this valley here. This is this big bowl-shaped forested valley. And they're pushing along the top of the valley, the ridge here, or the crest, I should say, and moving along the tree line, trying to coming north of the valley, potentially to cut off the Russians in the valley itself. Because this is the access point here. Down here we have slopes into a valley with a river, and Russia can't really bring in supplies and reinforcements this way. It is from here that they are reliant on reinforcements and supplies to hold positions in the valley. So Ukraine is steadily pushing north here along the top of this big hill, along the crest, along the forest edge, to coming this way, it appears, to cut the Russians off in the valley itself. Then we have here at Hlyboke, Ukraine has pushed up this way, coming here, and they also made a move along the dam here. And recently we've seen Ukrainian vehicles coming in here into this part of Hlyboke, meaning they have secured this road and the windbreak here. And this, what is this, a graveyard maybe? So Ukraine has made a push up this way and are right now on the outskirts of Hlyboke, potentially allowing them to attack Hlyboke from two sides, putting pressure on the Russians in this location. Haven't seen them make any more pushes along the dam though, and it's a difficult approach, as when you can see. I mean, if the Russians put up a couple of machine guns, they will be very effectively deny Ukrainian infantry to move up this way. And Russia needs to hold this shoreline. They really do, because if Ukraine can push all the way up the dam, they are right next to the main supply line into this area. So Russia will hold the shores here of this dam and these positions of concealment and cover. So we will probably see a big push into Hlyboke before we see a push further up the dam, would be my guess. Not much happening up in Kursk. As of yet, there may be updates, of course, during the day. So famous last words. But it does appear as if Russia has lost a lot of forces away from the combat area, with Ukraine launching massive attack and strikes all over the place, hitting targets before they reach the point of contact before they reach assembly locations close to the front line. So Russia is being hit as they're moving in, and then when they do reach the contact line, they are launching massive assaults, primarily at the moment through here. Russia really wants to move south from Solynishliak to link up with Nizhny Klin, and in so doing unlock Darino, and then they can all move towards Sverdlikovo. So this appears here to be the main objective at the moment, with Nizhny Klin being a stepping stone towards that objective and unlocking Darino. It seems as if Ukraine is still holding on to this farm or factory, whatever it is. A bit surprising to me, considering it's isolated. As you can see, it's surrounded by farmland. Not sure how Ukraine brings in troops and supplies to this location, but no map has the entirety of Darino in Russian control. This patch here remains contested, so we have a Ukrainian presence in this area here. And this is obviously a big thorn in the Russian side. They want Darino so they can push into these windbreaks and move towards Sverdlikovo. But not much else. Nothing appears to have changed in Pogrebki. Nothing appears to have changed here. A bit unknown, like we pointed out before, who is in control of the forests and valleys here. Presumably a lot of fighting and a lot of positions switching hands up here. Ukraine has tried to push into Novaya Ivanovka from the north and straight through town, but it appears that at the moment Russia is holding their lines, and it's not that strange. As you can see, you have big open gaps right here in the middle of town between the center of town and the outskirts where you have woods, and it's difficult to cross these wide open fields for Ukraine. So you can expect a lot of shootouts over these gaps here between Russian and Ukrainian forces. We'll see if Ukraine can bring in some mortar fire, maybe artillery, to suppress the Russians, and that will allow Ukraine to rush across somewhere. Ukraine has tried on a couple of occasions to reach this patch of woods, but not sure if that has been successful or not. But that's basically Kursk at the moment. Now, I don't do all that many updates on the situation at the south of Pokrovsk, because how many months ago is it that I said, this is going to happen. This is not going to stop. Russia's on a roll. They're going to throw everything at this location. So it is what it is. But if we take a look at what I always say Russia's after, we go to deep state here instead. Pokrovsk, Mironarad. Russia wants, let's see if I can show you, let's thicken that up a bit. This river here, definitely, this is how far they will push out. And then they will try to come up to grab Ukrainian supply routes leading into town. There's a supply route coming up this way, but Russia wants that for themselves. So they're going to come this way to a small town here. This is where that Ukrainian supply route is coming in from. And then Russia wants this supply route and this supply route to, support the eventual assault on Pokrovsk. I've talked about this a million times. But just a quick repeat. They did not just want this road here, because then they would have been easily targeted by Ukrainians. So they needed this road, and now they want this road here so that they can spread out logistics, and it doesn't make them vulnerable. And also, if we take a look at weapons range here, let's see, self-propelled. Why are they spreading out? They want to spread out their artillery. And let's see here, 28 kilometers. Standard range, 152 millimeter. Right here, Pokrovsk. What? Did I choose? What is this? What the hell? Sorry about that. Doing that all over again. We're picking a self-propelled howitzer. What the hell? This is the wrong one. Sorry for this. I'm messing this up big time. There we go. Okay. in the middle of Pokrovsk. Boom. As you can see, if you just came in this way, you wouldn't be able to fit all that many artillery pieces. Now, if Russia is expanding down this way, south of the river here, they can fit so many more artillery pieces that have range on Muromorod and Pokrovsk. So that is why they want all of this area here, to move in artillery to support the assault. If they just had Rodivka, Novorodivka, I mean, it's not that many artillery pieces you can fit. But if you can include all of this area, now you can actually support the assault on these two cities. So that's what's going on. And so, yes, I'm not surprised at all that Russia is moving up this way in the fashion that they are. It makes total sense. And the real fight begins once Russia decides to launch the assault on Pokrovsk and Muromorod. Until that happens, Russia will advance. They will grab all of this. Ukraine can't do anything about it. They can slow it down, and they have done very effectively so. This is essentially a crawl. I kid you not, this is a crawl, no matter what the pro-Russians are saying. And now the Vatniks are pissed off that I'm saying this, but I will prove it. I will prove it to you. Let's see here, where is the distance? It is 13 months since Russia began the assault on Avdiivka, 13 months ago. And in that time, 13 months, Russia has taken roughly, let's see here, what they have secured. So roughly like so, they've gone up this way, and roughly over here, maybe a bit further south, but something along these lines. And it should really be 2,000-ish square kilometers. Let's see here. Oh, you can't see that. But this area is roughly 2,000-ish square kilometers. And we'll see what that translates to on the larger scale of things. So this is what Russia has secured. Let's move over here. Luxembourg, mini country in Europe. Really tiny country in Europe. Let's see here what happens here. This is, you can't see the measurements, but this, you have to go over to Deep State Map and control this on your own. I guarantee you, I'm not lying. This is not the entirety of Luxembourg, and this is 2,171 square kilometers. So if we move this one there, now we are at 2,000 square kilometers. This is what Russia has achieved in 13 months. They have not even invaded and occupied the entirety of Luxembourg. And I believe this is not even half of Rhode Island, if we're going to compare it to a state in the US. So that is how effective this Russian advance has been. 13 months, and they haven't even grabbed Luxembourg. Now remember, in World War II, Germany went through Luxembourg, they went through the Netherlands and Belgium in 3 weeks. 20 days was all Germany needed to invade Luxembourg, Belgium, and Netherlands. And on top of that, in those 3 weeks, they destroyed the French and British armies within Belgium itself. And it wasn't a surprise attack, because the German plans had ended up in Belgian hands well before the invasion. So the Belgians knew this was coming. The Belgians went to the Allies and said, hey, Germany is about to invade. And that is why France and Britain had their armies ready on the Belgian border. They were just waiting for Germany to push in. And then you had this big brawl. And despite of this, 3 weeks is all Germany needed. And on the flip side, way over here, 13 months to not even be able to push in and occupy Luxembourg. This is a crawl, and this is why I'm calling this Schneckenkrieg, which is German for snail war. This is not Blitzkrieg. This is Schneckenkrieg, snail war. But what is the Ukrainian plans here? Well, Ukraine wants to slow down this advance, which they have very successfully, because it will inflict so many casualties on the Russians. that when it's time to actually fight within Pokrovsk and Myrnorod, it's gonna be hell on earth, and Russia may not have enough troops and manpower, resources, supplies left to successfully push into these cities and survive. These two cities could actually break the entire Russian army here in the south, thanks to this advance taking such a long time. And because Russia is losing so many forces before even reaching the outskirts of Pokrovsk and Myrnorod. So a quick look at the various front lines. I might actually do a more dedicated Pokrovsk video, since the Russians, they are slowly closing into the point where they will attack the two cities of Pokrovsk and Myrnorod. They're close to being in a good spot to do it. A good spot, but in a spot where Russia might actually do it. There are some terrain features that are interesting: rivers, high ground, elevated positions for the Ukrainians, and so on. And so I might actually do a proper Pokrovsk video again. Haven't done that in a couple of months because, Schneckenkrieg. I fully expect Russia to push up to a position where they can launch assaults on Pokrovsk. And so we'll take a look at what those positions might be and where Ukraine will be able to hold the line, so to speak. But right now, Ukraine is falling back as a matter of strategy because they can't hold every point until the last man. They have to fall back. So it's a fighting retreat, or a fighting withdrawal rather, until they reach a line that they no longer can fall back from. And I'm guessing it's that river that I showed you. Seems not very implausible. Anyway, I'm rambling. I hope you found it interesting. I hope I'll see you in the next one. As always, go på marsch, Ukraine, and give them hell.